Welcome on into Falcons Today, mailbag time. I'm answering questions that were asked during our live show, which airs every single Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern. So our first question coming in from Danny Dorito. Any chance the Falcons trade for Maxx Crosby if the Raiders blow it up? I see where you can get to maybe the Raiders blowing it up with Devontae Adams going out and them looking pretty bad so far. They're not going to go this far. This is, to quote a really old World War II movie, a bridge too far. Like, this to me, I'm not going to go too far in my World War II bag of tricks here, but this is Operation Market Garden. And if anyone gets that, kudos to you. But they're not getting rid of Maxx Crosby. The Raiders, I don't think, are going to get to that stage of desperation, that's not a word, of desperation. I mean, Crosby has been an absolute animal this year, like he always is to open up. 5 sacks despite having a bad ankle. He has been one of the best defensive players in football. So I don't think we need to spend much time debating whether or not Crosby is a worthy trade target for an Atlanta Falcons defense that is in dire need of a pass rush. But I don't see the Raiders ever getting to a stage this year where they trade Crosby. He is the heart and soul of that team, and he's only in the prime of his career. This could be something that happens for the Raiders in 5 years if they're in the same spot they are right now. But no, I don't see the Raiders moving on from Crosby. Now, if they did, I would not be opposed to giving Las Vegas a phone call. I think it would probably cost you 2 first-round draft picks, though. I know that's steep, but pass rusher is the second most important position in the NFL this day and age. So, would you give up 2 firsts for Crosby? Let me know, yes or no. If I were the Falcons, I would look at it as, well, the way you're playing right now, your first-round pick is probably going to be in the 20s. And it's hard to find great pass rushers in the 20s. But you can get a proven one right now who's not as young as a rookie, not as cheap as a rookie, but a known commodity. I would definitely very much consider doing so if this ever were available to me. Big Falcon with a super chat. Everyone sleeps on us. Do the Falcons capitalize on our win against the Bucs? Are we the real deal? I think the real deal will come when they play the Cowboys, which is probably going to be one of those. I could see it being flexed like America's Game of the Week if it isn't already. That's a little bit down the road in terms of the schedule, but I think it's going to take for them to win another primetime matchup with an already winning record for everyone to go, okay, it's time to talk about the Atlanta Falcons. I don't think a Panthers win's going to move the needle all that much. I don't think a Bucs win's going to move the needle all that much. Probably not a Seahawks win. But the Cowboys, that might be something that raises a lot of eyebrows across the country. XDG Delta. Realistic performance for Kirk. 29 for 37 for 345 yards and 360. Drake, London, and Mooney for another 100-yard game. Defense 3 sacks and 1 to 2 picks this game. What do you think? Well, we're talking about the Panthers, so yeah, it does sound pretty realistic. You could put any numbers there, and it would sound realistic for the Carolina Panthers. But we did make a vow. We're not overlooking Carolina. Atlanta has lost the last 2 games in Charlotte, but I do think this is definitely in reach for Kirk Cousins and all of his receivers. 3 sacks. They have 5 sacks in 5 games. They are banged up on the offensive line. I'll go with 2 sacks. And 1 pick. Sky was here. Do you think Penix will play against the Panthers or at all? Also, F the Aints. Everyone spam F the Aints. I don't think, obviously injury changes things, but maybe we see Penix at some point this year play the last 2 minutes. If he does get in, I'm not even sure if they really have him drop back to pass, just out of a little bit of a respect thing. If they get him in with like 7 minutes to go, maybe then. But if it's just the last 2 minutes, it's probably a couple of handoffs and some knees. But I don't think we're going to see Penix unless it's truly a big, big blowout. Like, even if Kirk's not having a good game, they're not going to pull Cousins. That's just going to create one too big of a hullabaloo when you've got a really good thing going with Kirk. 404 Love. Biggest worry for the defense this week is containing Chuba Hubbard. How do you think they take care of that with everyone stating how we have one of the, quote, worst defenses in the league? Great question. One, coming off a little bit of a mini bye with the Thursday night game should help some of those interior defensive linemen freshen up a little bit because those jobs are really tough week to week with the amount of collisions they have every single snap. Second, I would like to see maybe a little bit more of Zach Harrison in that run-stopping role. That wasn't quite what you drafted him to do out of Ohio State, but they've kind of changed his position from being a defensive end to an interior lineman. Also, we got to see a little bit better play from David Onyemata and Eddie Goldman, two of your true run stoppers. So let's watch for those two guys to have a better performance on Sunday. Or maybe it's a little bit more of the rookie out of Clemson, Rook Ororo, who has had, well, I'm about to say a slow start to the year, but we didn't see him play at all until the Bucs game, and then he only played about 15-ish snaps. So we'll see what kind of snap allotment people get this Sunday. But I think having a little bit of time off and getting some better play from Goldman and Onyemata should really help slow down Chuba Hubbard. Now, before we get on to the rest of the questions in today's mailbag, today's show is made possible thanks to all of our favorite friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Here are my selections for this Sunday. Taking the more on Caleb Williams, 235. He's thrown for over 300 the last two out of the last 3 games. Like the more on Darnell Mooney, that's a really low number. Also like the more on Tony Pollard. Bad quarterback play in Tennessee, and they're coming off the bye. Well-rested running back. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game. Archangel. How much does not having Landman / Anderson and Alford hurt us, honestly? So Nate Landman still, as I'm recording this on Thursday, a little iffy to play on Sunday. He's just coming off of IR with a quad and calf injury. Anderson is banged up with a knee injury that caused him to miss Thursday night. Dee Alford's in concussion protocol. Missing Landman and Anderson hurts a lot because you've got Caden Ellis, one of the unsung heroes of this defense, but now you've got a big role for rookie JT Bertrand, who had a tough go against the Bucs. Maybe they can call up Rashaan Evans. If Evans is going to be, in football shape or game day shape, I'd like to see him get a shot if you don't have Anderson and Landman. As for no Dee Alford, we'll get some more Clark Phillips, who I'm not afraid of or opposed to. I think Clark Phillips is a solid corner off the bench. So with him being a very twitchy and, ball-oriented corner, I think he can do a good job in the nickel position. So overall, not too concerned. Also, it's week 6. Everyone's dealing with injuries. Boomsticks. Could Ray McLeod have a 1,000-yard season? No. I don't think we've ever had 3 players on a team have 1,000 yards. Would love to see if that's been done before. And I think Darnell Mooney and Drake London can get to 1,000 yards. I think Kyle Pitts can get to 800 yards. I think Ray McLeod can get to about 500 yards. And those are all really good for an offense. Like to have 2,000-yard receivers, 800, 500. We're looking at over 3,500 yards right there. You could put together 700 more yards between Bijan, Algier, and the rest of this crew. Edward Prater. Why do we play so much defense, so much zone defense when we're not getting pressure on the quarterback? I do not like having Matthew Judon drop in coverage as much as they have done that. There's just been one too many instances of that, and there should be 0. You didn't trade for him to drop in coverage. You traded for him to rush the quarterback. This is what Raheem Morris did in L.A. So as the season goes on, and as his time in Atlanta goes on, if his personnel is not fitting his defense, I hope and trust that he will make adjustments. But I think in only 5 weeks, he's going to stick to what he believes is a winning formula on defense and believe that over time, guys will start to get more comfortable in their roles. Assad Hussein. Is Troy Anderson our second best player on defense after Jesse Bates? Great question, Assad. Grady Jarrett. I'm going to go Jesse Bates. I'm going to go Grady Jarrett. I'm going to go A.J. Terrell. I'm going to go Justin Simmons. Probably go Simmons, then Terrell. But Terrell long-term. And then Troy Anderson, Nate Landman, Judon in that tier there. Rusty Moore with a $5 super chat. I live in North Carolina, going to the game Sunday, upper level, midfield behind the Falcons sideline. Don't embarrass me, fellas. Let's effing go. Rusty, enjoy the game. I've been to Bank of America Stadium twice. I went for 2 college games, and it's a pretty mid-stadium. Probably more on the bottom half than the top half. But snap a picture, Rusty. Send it to me on Twitter at Matthew Petey, and we can get it on screen during our watch party. Last question coming in from Ayer. Are you worried at all about obtaining and immediately signing Hassan Reddick after he hasn't played or practiced for a while? This is a fair concern to have. Like, let's just, for a moment, live in a world where we get a notification the Atlanta Falcons have traded for Hassan Reddick and have agreed to a 2-year, $45 million contract extension. That's a fair thing to have a concern over with a guy that hasn't played football since the end of last year and has held out this whole time. In that situation, I am trading for Hassan Reddick to get great play out of him in December and January and February. If that means a little bit of a slow October and November, I'm willing to eat that cost if I can get great play out of him down the stretch. For me, it's somewhat reminiscent of not complete apples to apples, like Montez Sweat. When he got traded, remember the Falcons really wanted Sweat last year. He went to the Bears, and he had a great end to the season in Chicago. If you can get that out of Reddick, even if that means his first 3-4 games aren't quite the $45 million you gave him, I don't really give a damn about that money if you can go on a nice postseason run this year. I'm willing to sign up for maybe a not-so-great contract in 2026 if you can get some really good play in 2024. Might be a little bit short-sighted, but I think this team is talented enough to make some major noise in the NFC, because look around. I mean, NFC champ last year, 49ers, they're 2-3. Eagles, 2-2, and not a very impressive 2-2. Packers, 3-2. Think about the teams that were winning playoff games last year. They don't look like they're winning a whole lot right now. The door's open for the Falcons to creep in the NFC. Jump on that opportunity. So who you got for Sunday? Falcons or Panthers? I only want to see ATLs in the chat. Let this serve as a way to know who watches all the way to the end of the video. Drop an ATL if you got the Dirty Birds.